astronomers may have found a new type of object in the Orion Nebula. Serpents is a famous stellar nursery. What if I told you the James Webb Telescope just found something in space that shouldn't exist, and not just one or two but multiple structures like that? 6 massive galaxies were recently discovered by NASA using data released from the James Webb Space Telescope. Scientists are confused because they might just need to rewrite the textbooks. Let's take a look at what they have discovered. Number 1. Massive ancient galaxies. Massive ancient galaxies in an otherwise ordinary background. 6 bright red spots of light were discovered by the James Webb Telescope, and these are no ordinary spots. They are actually some of the earliest and largest galaxies ever found, dating back up to 13.3 billion years. These 6 spots were so red that they must have formed just a few hundred million years after the Big Bang, and from what scientists previously believed, these structures couldn't even have formed back then. Experts used to think that it took a lot longer for the first stars and galaxies to form, but in reality, these ancient galaxies were already massive and bustling with star formation just a few hundred million years after the Big Bang. One of these universe-breaker galaxies is 1 trillion times more massive than our Sun and 10 times the size of the Milky Way. That's huge! So, in the long run, this discovery has somewhat disturbed everyone because the universe didn't begin like we thought it did, and the dark ages for the universe may not have been so dark after all. Number 2. New finds in exoplanet molecules. For some reason, astronomers have been obsessed with finding an exoplanet, and among many candidates, there's K2-18b, one which has life. Why is that? Well, for one, they found water vapor in its atmosphere, and quite recently, James Webb found carbon-bearing molecules like methane and carbon dioxide. So yes, K2-18b may have a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and water ocean, perfect conditions for life. Wait till I tell you that there was even detection of the compound dimethyl sulfide as well, and guess who produces that on Earth? Just living organisms. I'm sure you're smart enough to connect the dots here. Number 3. Origins of the cosmic web. Astronomers using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope also spotted 10 galaxies arranged like a string just 830 million years after the Big Bang. That's like finding a childhood picture of this universe. But why is it a big deal? Because these galaxies couldn't even have existed back then from our current understanding. Yeah, it looks like it was pretty inaccurate, wasn't it? Also, this structure is about 3 million light-years long, and it's anchored by a super-bright quasar, which is a galaxy with a giant black hole at its center. And guess what? This line of galaxies might grow into a huge cluster of galaxies like the Coma cluster we know in our neighborhood in the universe. Number 4. Early supermassive black holes. You probably know that black holes actually grow in size by consuming passing stars and clouds of gas and dust. Thanks to James Webb, scientists have now captured supermassive black holes lurking in the early universe even when they haven't had much time to feast on their surroundings. In fact, it also captured the most distant black hole ever seen in X-rays in a galaxy called UHZ1. The mind-blowing part? UHZ1 is a solid 13.2 billion light-years from Earth, meaning we're watching the black hole as it existed just 470 million years after the Big Bang. This black hole has an estimated mass between 10 million and 100 million times the mass of the Sun, which is downright unbelievable when you consider that it's comparable to the total mass of all the stars in its host galaxy. Number 5. Horsehead Nebula. This nebula is also known as Barnard 33 and is about 1,300 light-years away. Thanks to the instruments on the Webb telescope, astronomers have been able to see the small-scale structures of the illuminated edge of the HSE head for the very first time. It formed from a collapsing interstellar cloud and gets its glow from being illuminated by a nearby hot star. The gas clouds around the HSE head have mostly dispersed, but the iconic pillar shape is made of dense material that's hanging tough. But astronomers suspect that the HSE head has around 5 million years left before it starts to fade away. Now astronomers can track how dust particles are being swept away from the cloud as they're evaporated by UV light and then create some really complicated patterns. Number 6. The dust left by a supernova. And then there's Cassiopeia A, the aftermath of a star explosion 11,000 light-years away which happened around 340 years ago in the Cassiopeia constellation. We can still see its remains today. Astronomers, though, are particularly transfixed by the warm dust which plays a huge role in forming planets and life. Most of this kind of dust is believed to come from the heavy elements thrown out by supernovae. Because of James Webb, we can now see the tiny fragments of this debris made up of sulfur, oxygen, argon, and neon, all glowing in beautiful orange and light pink hues. The dark gaps you see in the image are caused by those tiny fragments piercing through the gas, leaving a cosmic trail of bullet holes. And as if that's not amazing enough, we can even see light echoes. It's where the original light of the supernova gets absorbed and reprocessed as infrared light by the space stuff around it. Number 7, a star-forming region. Then there's Serpens Nebula, which is about 1,300 light-years from Earth. This area, which covers about 16 trillion miles by 11 trillion miles, is where many young stars are taking their first breaths. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope found many unusual things in this nebula. Thanks to it, they found aligned protostellar outflows, basically jets of gas expelled by newborn stars interacting with the surrounding gas and dust. These outflows are all aligned in the same direction, which has never been seen before. Not to mention it also brought forward the Bat Shadow, a planet-forming disk that looks like it's flapping. Impressive, isn't it? Number 8, unseen features in the Milky Way's heart. Not just that, we're getting a lot more information about our galaxy's dense center, all thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope. The telescope's near-infrared camera recently captured the most detailed image of the Sagittarius C region, which is around 300 light-years from the Milky Way's central supermassive black hole. In this image, we can see like 500,000 stars, so it's no surprise that some truly mysterious structures have left astronomers scratching their heads. I'm talking about some needle-like structures in ionized hydrogen that seem to defy all known patterns, and they're much bigger than the scientific community initially thought them to be. And that's not all. A cluster of protostars, stars that are still in the process of forming and gaining mass, was also spotted.